Good afternoon, everybody. Hi. Yeah, so anyways, I'm here, Scott Beretta. For those of you who don't know me, I teach in the sociology department, including a couple of classes on music, anthropology of blues culture, sociology of music, and used to be an employee here at Living Blues magazine years ago, and work on the Mississippi Blues Trail and do all and host, do various things media-wise with music, and that's why I'm so excited to be here today to bring over Burgin Mathews from Birmingham. We've known each other for a number of years, but anyways, Burgin is from Montgomery, studied American Studies at Vassar, and then at UNC he was a student in the folklore program whose teachers were, among his teachers were Bill Ferris, right, the founding director of the Center for the Study of Southern Culture here. He's been, since 2012, the host of The Lost Child on Birmingham Mountain Radio. It's a wonderful radio program on Saturday mornings. He's done over 500 programs, and he has a really interesting mix of rockabilly and blues and soul and other kinds of traditional musics, and some more contemporary music as well, like Bob Dylan. I guess young people don't think of Bob Dylan as contemporary music, but anyways, he's also was a school teacher in Birmingham for 17 years, the whole time in Birmingham. Okay, and one of the things he studied at UNC was jazz. He wrote a book on Birmingham jazz called Doc: The Story of a Birmingham Jazz Man. That was. His name is Frank Adams, and he's followed up that work on Birmingham's great jazz traditions, which include people like Sun Ra, notably, who's on the cover of his forthcoming book on UNC Press, Magic City, How the Birmingham Jazz Tradition Shaped the Sound of America. And when's that coming out? December 2nd, is that right? You've got
November 28th-ish.
Well, when's the event?
December 2nd.
I'll probably go there. So anyways, so today he's going to talk about something he created this year or last year. When did it launch?
Well, officially launched this year.
Officially launched this year, the Southern Music Research Center. And he'll tell you all about it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks, y'all, for being here. Thanks very much for having me here. And thank you, Scott, for the very thorough introduction. I wanted to use my time today to tell you a bit about this new nonprofit, the Southern Music Research Center. It is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Birmingham, devoted to the documentation, preservation, and public presentation of a wide range of Southern music histories, communities, traditions, expressions, and experiences. The heart of the organization, the real center of the Southern Music Research Center, is this website, which is southernmusicresearch.org, which is an archive, online, free, public, searchable, ever-growing archive of oral history interviews, sort of rescued recordings, rare photos, flyers, and other artifacts and ephemera from a real diversity of musical expressions throughout the South. We are new. We officially launched in April with the launch of the site. So as you'll see, as I give you kind of a preliminary tour of the archive today, a lot of what you'll see here is rooted in Alabama music, and especially in Birmingham, because that's where we are. But our scope is really the South, broadly defined. So as we continue to grow, though I know we will always be very specifically rooted in Alabama in a lot of ways, we'll continue to kind of send out kind of expand in a lot of different directions from there. So let's see. I'll say this. The range of music that you see here, it certainly encompasses a lot of what you sort of predictably think of when you think of Southern music, even in the most stereotypical kind of fashions. There's bluegrass, there's blues, there's gospel, and there's stuff like that. But also we're devoted to documenting the story and the shape of the South's hip-hop communities and punk rock scenes, and sort of everyday expressions of musical life, like marching bands or church choirs or families, making music in the home. So to have kind of all of those musics in conversation conversation with each other and presented kind of side by side is a really important part of our mission. The site is designed with professional scholarly archival standards in mind, so that it's a resource for scholars, for researchers of all types. But our real hope is that just ordinary people who are not necessarily scholars of music or of the South will find this and kind of fall into some rabbit holes. It's certainly not all audio in here, but there's enough audio that you could pass many hours streaming it in your kitchen while you make dinner or driving in your car. So my I guess pitch to you guys who are here today is what you could do to support the Southern Music Research Center is go to the website, kind of look around, get lost, and remember to come back because it really is growing all the time. If someone is engaging with the site, there's kind of a few ways to do that. One is just to go to the main page, southernmusicresearch.org, where you'll see a very brief greeting and kind of a rotating cast of featured items and featured collections. Kind of every time you come back here, that featured item or collection might be something different. Trying to refresh that, but maybe, yeah, for example. You can continue to scroll. We've got one featured exhibit up right now, which I might circle back to by the time we're done today, about a guy named Patrick Cather. A lot of his recordings of Birmingham musicians in the 1960s are included in various places in our collection. So he was kind of the first feature that we wanted to spotlight. And you can continue to scroll and just kind of see in order of the most recent editions what's been added lately, which right now is a lot of newspaper articles related to a music community in Beech Mountain, North Carolina, which I'm sure I will say some more about. You can also use the search feature. So you could search for a place, a person, an instrument, a genre. We could search for Mississippi. Now that I'm in Mississippi, I'm scared I'm going to not put the right number of S's or whatever. So we've got some Mississippi here. Here's some funeral programs if you might recognize some of these blues artists from Mississippi. This is kind of cool. On the way over here yesterday, I passed through Belmont, Mississippi, and Iuka, Mississippi. This guy's from there, Shorty Gin, a one-man band, and this is his postcard from when he was based in Decatur, Alabama for a little while in the 1960s. Sometimes our captions are pretty simple and straightforward. Sometimes they're a little bit more elaborate if there's an item like Shorty Gin that is otherwise kind of unrepresented on the internet. So here we've got his own kind of autobiographical sketch, which he sent in to the Memphis Press Scimitar in 1962 and says, "I shall be glad to give you some information about myself. I maneuver a 10-piece outfit of guitar, banjo, mandolin, electric harmonica, 3 drums, 2 cymbals, jazz horn, and can keep 7 instruments going at the same time. I play all types of country and hillbilly music. Some of my forgotten songs, or some of my favorite songs, are She Thinks I Still Care, Send Me the Pillow You Dream On, and Bessie the Heifer. I have been forming a one-man band for several years and have just kept adding to it. Recently, I added to my band a Frankenstein dummy that plays the 5-piece drums. I built this dummy myself and operate it with my foot. I do this type of work for a living." So that's kind of suitable to the Halloween season right now, is his Frankenstein drummer. So yeah, the search feature is one way to access the material, but really, I think the best way to navigate the site is to click Browse Collections, because the way we have the site organized is by thematic and topical collections. So that's kind of what I'll spend a good chunk of my time today doing, is kind of walking through some of these collections. I'll probably reserve some time near the end to kind of focus especially on the Birmingham jazz tradition, since as Scott mentioned, that's a topic that I've been particularly immersed in for a while, and a lot of my research materials are in this site. And I'll certainly save some time at the end for questions and comments and conversation, but I welcome an interruption along the way too, if you've got question or comment as we go. So we've got a collection of Alabama country and bluegrass kind of across the state. It began as a photo collection. That's a great rockabilly artist right there named Hard Rock Gunner and a fan. But we've also got some like acetate recordings, demo records from the 1940s of regional artists that the world really has not heard of for the most part. It's real central piece of all of this is to focus in on music traditions that really are tied to a place. So that's why you see like the next selection is devoted to Birmingham jazz. And Birmingham jazz, not Alabama jazz and not Southeastern jazz, but Birmingham has such a unique tradition of its own. So those are the kinds of community traditions that we're particularly interested in diving deep into and spotlighting some of the, not the celebrated iconic figures of American music history, but some names and some communities that you might not know. So like I said, we'll come back around to Birmingham jazz in a bit. Music of politics. We've got a selection of Alabama punk flyers, blues and jazz audio. Convos is an original series of hip-hop conversations with local artists in Birmingham. Scott mentioned my first book, Doc, was the life story of Frank Doc Adams. Doc Adams was how I came to the Birmingham jazz story, because he was a extraordinary musician, but also a lifelong educator. He was a music teacher and director of music in Birmingham City Schools. He played, if you know Sun Ra, he played with Sun Ra back in the 1940s when Sun Ra, if you don't know Sun Ra was a jazz musician and band leader and composer from Birmingham who claimed his whole life to have come from outer space, but was really tied to Birmingham's music scene in so many very real ways. And Doc was kind of the last living link to that earlier era when Sun Ra was Sonny Blunt. Doc also played with Duke Ellington and others before coming back to Birmingham to be a teacher. The book that he and I published in 2012 is his life story. It's an oral history. It's in his own words. I met Doc in maybe 2008, but in 2009 asked him, could we get together and record an interview? I barely knew him at the time, but I knew he was fascinating and a great storyteller with a great story to tell. And I just wanted to sit with him. So I kind of invented a magazine article as an excuse to sit with him with the tape recorder running. And I did a lot of homework to prepare for that first meeting, and I had 6 pages of notes of questions I wanted to ask Doc about, and I hit record on the tape recorder, and before I asked any question, Doc said, I was born on February 2nd, 1928, and he proceeded to talk for 2 hours without stop, like his life story in intimate detail, in chronological detail, so that by the end of our 2-hour session, he was about to graduate from high school with a letter of recommendation to Howard University from Sonny Blunt, Sun Ra. And he said, but we're going to have another session next week. So I thought, great. So I came back next week. There's a great institute in Birmingham called the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame. And he was one of the first inductees to that organization in 1979. But by the time I met him, he gave tours of the Hall of Fame. He taught free music lessons. He had a lot of roles that he that he took on there, and we would meet every Saturday in his office there. Or the next Saturday we met again. He spent 2 hours without pausing for a question talking about his 4 years at Howard University. He said, come back next week. And so on the 3rd week, I said, I will keep coming as long as you want to keep talking to me. And on the 6th week, I said, I don't have any idea how to write an article about this, but I think it should be a book. And so every week for 1.5 years, that's what we did, was run the tape recorder while Doc talked, and a book came out of that. But if anyone here has ever done oral history, you know that part of the challenge, and kind of fun, but part of the challenge of that work is when you're translating audio to the printed page is how you do that, because those are two different things, and something is inevitably lost, right? So when this Southern Music Research Center became a thing, I thought, well, this is a good way for people to actually hear Doc's voice. They might read the book, they might not, but here they can hear him tell stories in his own voice. And so I don't have all 1.5 years of weekly conversations here, but I pulled out some highlights, and maybe let's hear a short highlight. Doc passed away in 2014, so in his honor, let's get his voice out there. This one's pretty short, so I can play this one. This is him talking about the ingenuity in the schools, in schools without a lot of resources in Birmingham, and probably in the 1950s or 60s when this story takes place. He refers to shakos, which are like those tall kind of militaristic-looking hats that they wear in band or in the majorettes. And here's Doc on that subject.
And I remember when we were trying to get some money to buy majorette uniforms, and we had just about enough, but we didn't have enough for the shakos, that's the hats, you know. And one of the ladies that I never thought and said, "Mr. Adams, I'll make them for you." I said, "What do you mean, make a shako?" Because I had seen Phillips High School, all those bands with those expensive hats to go on top, you know. And she said, "If you can get me, 12 oatmeal boxes." Man, she took those oatmeal boxes and put some satin around here and darted some shakos and all. And they last, you know. This lady out in the street, her idea, you said, "Just get me some oatmeal boxes. Get me 12 of them, you know." So we had to buy 12 boxes of oatmeal. And they ate the oatmeal and she made the hats, man. So that's what you call ingenuity.
When possible, we do try to have transcripts as well as audio, just so it's accessible. You know, if you're not well versed in Southern accents, the transcripts might be helpful, or for any number of reasons. Back to our browsing of the collections. There is a good deal of blues on here already, since I know we've got Scott Beretta, who's a big blues person, and there might be some other blues people here. Gibbs Place was a long-running juke joint in Bessemer, Alabama, and we've got a number of recordings from this, about like 30 hours of recordings from the stage at Gibbs Place. So there is some great stuff with both well-known blues artists, also like super regional and not so well-known artists. So if you're into the blues, I would encourage you to listen to the Gibbs Place recordings. In Memoriam is a collection of funeral programs and other print tributes presented in remembrance of beloved musicians. And I haven't said this yet, I don't think, so this I need to emphasize that although I just shared with you my own interviews with Frank Adams, the real goal of this organization is that the general public will contribute in various ways. So for example, the woman right there that you see for the in memoriam section, she was the longtime choir director and music director at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, which of course is a legendary space in the history of the civil rights movement and of this country. Maybe less legendary is its music director for many, many years, who in fact was the mother of a whole family of jazz musicians who went on to play with basically every famous jazz musician that you can name from the middle of the last century. But so this is a great way to kind of to remember these local community-based musicians. Also, this is the only place that I know of on the internet where you can find some biography about Miss Mary Mattal Clark. And we would invite visitors to the site to remember their own family members, community members, either whether that's by contributing a funeral program, a photograph, a home recording, whatever. That's the success of the organization, as I see it, really depends on this becoming sort of a community endeavor to commemorate and to remember and to preserve community histories, particularly those that often go under or unrecorded. Let's keep going in order. This takes us out of Alabama to one of the most exciting collections, or it's really a series of overlapping collections, the Jack Guy collection. This is material from Beech Mountain, North Carolina, which I referenced a few minutes ago, which again is a specific place with a very unique musical history. Beech Mountain, which is in western North Carolina, was a home of banjo makers, dulcimer makers, fiddle makers, banjo, dulcimer, fiddle players, ballad singers, buck dancers, storytellers, craftspeople of all kinds. And that music tradition kind of became somewhat legendary, partly because they had a really unique thing going on in Beech Mountain. There was this guy named Jack Guy, who was a local person there who ran a store where he made sort of hand-carved toys. And in that store, he kind of, through that store, he created this whole local industry of handcrafted toys that many community members contributed to, as well as the makers of instruments. And on the porch of that store, there would be live music all the time. And you can see in this one photo, let's go to the photo section. Well, maybe now I've lost the photo that I was looking for, but he collected, he was just a sort of relentless documentarian of his own community. So he collected all of these photos of the space, of community members making music. Let's see if we can advance forward. You can see the microphone in a lot of these images. This is the one that I was looking for a second ago, I think. This local fiddler named Buny Hicks, and you can see Jack Guy's microphones there. How this came to the Southern Music Research Center is kind of wild. Somebody found at an estate sale in North Carolina like 80-something reel-to-reel tapes of audio, something like 800 photographs from this community, and several canisters of film, like silent film footage. And that person this was not the Jack Guy family estate sale. Somehow all of that material had kind of been, I don't know, it just moved from hand to hand and somehow ended up at this estate sale where someone found it and donated it to the North Carolina Folklife Institute. That organization, before they and I connected, did the massive work of digitizing all the material. And then as the Southern Music Research Center was born just earlier this year, they came to us and said, we don't have a great platform for putting this out in the world. Would your organization be interested in making this stuff available online? And absolutely we would. So there's great images here. As I say, photographs, film, and audio. Let's get a little bit of that audio in our ears for a second. In fact, I think we've got something like almost 300 individual recordings here in this collection. So it's organized. If you really wanted to spend some time with it, we've got about 25 different playlists just so that you can kind of stream it continuously. So let's hear just a little bit of that. And in almost all of these, you'll hear the voice of Jack Guy explaining what you're about to hear. So I think we're going to hear him first.
We have here today Mr. Willard Watson, and he's playing a banjo here, and believe it or not, tell the folks the name of this song. What's the name of it, Willard?
Pretty sure, though. Been played years ago.
All right, just let her go, Mr. Willard.
There are various Watsons in this collection, by the way, and if you know the name Doc Watson was from near there, and a lot of his family members, his brother plays on a lot of these recordings. So it really captures a community tradition, but a community tradition that is maybe not as predictable as you might think at first. Maybe a little old-time banjo tune is what you might expect from Beech Mountain, but you'll also hear kind of younger people playing covers of Loretta Lynn and Buck Owens songs, and you'll hear kind of Elvis covers and kind of some rockabilly stuff, a lot of gospel as well. So there's a range of music traditions represented in this one community right here. And I would like to share one more thing from the Jack Guy collection, because there's also this trove of video, which again I think might push against some of what we anticipate. All this footage is silent, but you can kind of almost hear the music. This is at Guy's store, so you can see a lot of the handmade toys and banjos and dulcimers. The guy playing the banjo is a guy named Tab Ward, and it's a great kind of glimpse. There's a lot of these kind of like Night of the Living Dead style images where where he tells there's a lot of that kind of stuff where he says, walk towards the camera with your instruments. So a lot of that happens. You also see kind of other scenes of life besides strictly music, but it's primarily music that's captured here, even though we don't have sound. There's Bunie Hicks fiddling and walking towards the camera. I'm not sure who the guitarist is there. My favorite is Tab Ward playing the banjo with this kind of wild buck dancer, but it gets better in a minute. Sooner or later. Yeah. So you didn't expect the twist, right? But this woman twisting to Tab Ward's banjo, I think is a really beautiful expression of culture in process and in flux, right? The sort of combining of traditions, or blending of traditions. And it'll get even more blended in a minute, after she does a little more twisting. There they go. So I'm just delighted that the North Carolina Folklife Institute found the Southern Music Research Center to be fitting an appropriate home for a massive trove of material. And as I said, part of our goal, that's Jack Guy, the guy whose collection this is. Part of our goal is that just an ordinary person whose, grandmother directed the church choir, or her father played in a bluegrass band, or played the tuba in a community band or something. You've got one photo of that person, right? That is not a iconic artist that anyone has ever come to your door and asked for that photo. But we're interested in that photo as a way of preserving that history. Oh, here they all go. So if somebody has just kind of one image that they would like to contribute to the Southern Music Research Center, we would love to provide a home for it. But also we are very interested in it's kind of hard to look away. Interested in collaborating with institutions like this that have material that they don't have a way or an easy way to kind of reach an online audience. Also, if there are any authors, filmmakers, record producers, et cetera, folklorists in this room, keep us in mind if you have a collection of material that you'd like to provide a home for. That's kind of what I've done with my own book. All this Birmingham jazz material, the relationship with Doc Adams led first to that one book that was his life story, but then from there, by the time we put out that book together, I realized that there was this much larger story of the Birmingham jazz tradition that needed to be told. And so for the 10 plus years since then, I've been working on that book, which is the one Scott referenced, comes out more or less a month from today or so. But as that book gets ready to come into the world, I'm doing my best to upload to this site as much of my own resource materials as well, so that that's another way of encountering the history. Somebody can look at the photos, they can listen to the recordings, they can see what I've seen and draw their own conclusions, right? They don't have to take my word for it as the author. And so again, I would encourage other writers and other documentary workers to kind of consider that the Southern Music Research Center is a site for sort of the DVD extras that can expand upon the published work. Let me show just a couple more things perhaps, and then we'll turn it over to some questions, if that sounds good to y'all. You saw the Doc Adams oral history section because there's so much of his own stuff, but we've also got a separate collection for oral histories. We just got a grant from the Alabama State Council on the Arts to do more original oral history work, and one part of that grant for the coming year is to do oral histories on the music of the civil rights movement. So speaking with, foot soldiers from the movement, specifically about the way that music worked, and specifically how that music worked in those particular communities, because the songs, the lyrics, the song leaders varied from one place to the next. Though there are some broad sort of generalizations that can be made about the music of the movement, it's also a music very much rooted in a specific place and time, and in specific issues in that case. So oral histories is kind of steadily growing as a section. We've got the Johnson family string band here. I'll share this one too. The Johnson family was a musical family with old-time fiddle traditions going back into the late 19th century. But by the 1950s, they were on the radio, various Johnson family members in Sand Mountain, Alabama. And survivors of the Johnson, or the current generation of the Johnson family, donated some of this material of these radio broadcasts. So we'll get a little of that in our ears.
Zenith presents the Johnson String Band. Local Zenith radio and television dealer presents a Saturday night visit with the Johnson String Band, coming to you directly from scenic Sand Mountain in northeast Alabama.
Yes, sir, folks. Zenith again takes to the air here at WAVU on top of Sand Mountain, one of the most densely populated rural areas in this whole country. It's right here on Sand Mountain, and we've got a whole lot of mighty good numbers for you here, folks. And I am sorry, we won't get to all the requests because we just haven't got the time. We'd need another hour and a half here if we done it. But what we don't get tonight, we are going to get them later on. And I want to thank every one of you Zenith owners and all the other people who are listening for the mighty nice cards and letters. Now we're going to start this one off with an old tune. Some of them gals will do to take along, and we're going to do it for Mr. and Mrs. George E. Worthington of Langston, Alabama. Listen here, Bob, who say they bought a new Zenith just to hear the Johnson String Band. Let's give them one, boys. Now that's right. Yes, sir. Now that's right.
And you wouldn't believe how many people in Sand Mountain, Alabama bought new Zenith radios to hear the Johnson family string band. It comes up so often. And that's part of what I think is pretty neat about this collection is I'm a person who I enjoy that kind of music. I would listen to that music just for fun, especially to get the radio announcers along with the fiddle tunes and so forth. But there's much more than just that. There's photos of the family. But what I think is super cool is all of these typewritten set lists that they made every week. We don't have their entire set, but we've got a good couple of years worth of these. And you can see through these notes and through those broadcasts, not just the fiddle tunes themselves and the other music that they play alongside fiddle tunes, because their repertoire is actually pretty diverse as well. But you can see the ways in which they engage with and interact with the community. And people from all over Sand Mountain, which is a pretty large region of Alabama, from Boaz and Albertville and all these small towns, are writing in, are listening in. They're getting a flood of fan mail every week. And notes say things like, Black-Eyed Susie is a fiddle tune. For Uncle Jim Smith, way over yonder in Tallapoosa, Georgia. Uncle Jim is 80 years old, but is still young enough to enjoy music. He never misses our program. Good for Uncle Jim. His boys operate Farm All Tractors too. It is Farm All community where Uncle Jim lives. Who else we got on here? This card is signed Mrs. L.R. Martin of Gunnersville, Alabama. She said she likes my singing much better than Bert's. This lady knows good singing. There's always some controversy about who's the best singer in the band. Usually it's Bert, but in this case it's not. So through this kind of material, I think it's, and I haven't read a lot of this, Too Old to Cut the Mustard played for Pappy Wallace, the Watermelon King of McClarty, Alabama. Pappy Wallace says he's been married 41 years and thinks I'm the best singer on the air. So I think you can learn a lot about the community. We've also got correspondence with their sponsors, so you can see the way they interact with local commerce, and again, documentation that indeed all these zeniths are being sold thanks to the Johnson family, and so on. I do want to save a little bit of the bit of time we've got left for questions, but I did say I would come back to Birmingham Jazz. I know it's been alluded to throughout this talk, but I'll throw up a few photos as well. And then if there are comments and questions, I would love to hear them. The Birmingham jazz community is really unique, influential, and very much unsung. And a lot of the reason that Birmingham had historically its own unique jazz culture is because of this guy right here and the culture that was sort of developed around him. John T. Fess Watley, Fess short for professor, was a printing instructor at Industrial High School in Birmingham, Alabama. That school, as Parker High School, is still there today. Industrial High School was founded in 1900, and it was the first, it was obviously segregated education, and it was the first African-American high school in Birmingham, public high school in the Birmingham area. And one of the few at that time in the state of Alabama, so families moved to Birmingham to send their students to Industrial High School. It was an industrial school in the Booker T. Washington sense of that word. So the idea was that students at this school were being trained for manual, often menial kind of labor. So half of their day was spent in the core curricula that we think of today of English, math, science, etc. But a full half of the day was also spent training in some industrial discipline. So a student would have essentially a kind of major. It would be woodworking, it would be shoe repair, it would be sewing, and so forth. He taught printing. And so the idea was that African American students would graduate from this school prepared to do the sorts of jobs that the society had afforded them to do. Fess Watley came along, and the language sometimes used about him is that he bootlegged music into the school. So he was hired as a printing instructor, but he had a pretty revolutionary idea that music could be an industrial discipline. It was something that you could do with your hands that would ensure you occupation, professional employment after graduation. But not only that, so the students of Fess Watley are spending half of their day in the band room, as well as playing before and after school practice, as well as playing professional gigs on the weekend. You can see some of the Industrial High School students here. And as they graduate from high school, they're putting on tuxedos and joining the bands of Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway and Count Basie and touring the United States and ultimately the world, while a lot of their neighbors and friends are going into the mills and the mines of Birmingham. So this massive tradition of jazz talent began to pour out of Birmingham, not only from Fess Watley's classroom. Many of his students became professional musicians. Many others became music instructors themselves, like Dr. Frank Doc Adams. And so they would, just the Birmingham jazz tradition was expanded that way. Erskine Hawkins was a well-known band leader to come out of Birmingham. His entire band was trained in Birmingham city schools. A lot of these are the professional musicians who came from the city. Joe, this is pretty interesting. A guy from Washington contacted me, the state of Washington contacted me because in his late aunt's attic, there were these files of photographs from a photographer who had captured on film, among others, Billie Holiday, who you see on the right, with her husband, a trumpeter from Birmingham named Joe Guy. Everybody remembers Billie Holiday. Joe Guy, not so much, but he's got a fascinating story of his own. This is inscribed to my darling wife. I love you, dear, always yours, Joe Guy. And so this guy who found these images offered to share them with us. The original contact sheets of Billie Holiday and him. There's Joe Guy. and their dog, Mister, right there too. So some pretty amazing stuff. And maybe the last thing that I'll show you, because I know we are just about out of time, but there's a lot of material here. The Erskine Hawkins band that I referenced, their biggest hit was a song called Tuxedo Junction, which was about a little community in Birmingham where they first, it was a dance hall kind of scene there in Tuxedo Junction, and members of the Erskine Hawkins band had their first exposure to jazz at that space. In later years, Erskine Hawkins would return home annually for a function at the Junction to celebrate his birthday. So there's Erskine Hawkins in the 80s playing with the local Birmingham Heritage Band at the function at the Junction. So these are some really nice photos. But what's kind of cool, just to go back to where we started, and sort of putting a broad range of music side by side and in conversation with each other. Tuxedo Junction changed a lot over the years. If you were to but if you were to search our site for Tuxedo Junction, you'd find a lot of material related to jazz, including this vocalist with the Erskine Hawkins band, who later came back to Birmingham, and you can hear her in a jazz club in Birmingham in the 1980s singing.
No. You're lonely, you cry the long night through. Well, you can.
By the 90s, this Tuxedo Junction scene had very much faded, and that's not where she's singing in that performance. But the last building standing in what was once the dance hall scene of Tuxedo Junction had become a punk rock venue. So if you search for Tuxedo Junction, you're also going to find a lot of great flyers from the late 80s and 90s from punk bands that occupied the same space, which I think is a kind of neat confluence of things. I talked a little longer than I expected to, so I know we have about 10 minutes or so. But are there comments, questions, concerns?